PTSD and other mood disorders associated with warfare is so important. And that's why I'm so glad we have the doctor on the show today. So, Doc, let's start by talking about some of the protocols and the things that you have seen that are effective in your treatment and in recognizing these problems, and what you would like to share with other military personnel around the world.
Yeah, so I think the first thing you mentioned was talking about some of the things that we can do to prevent chronic injuries and brain and mental health from happening in relation to warfare. So preventative measures would be minimizing the length of time that any one service member is deployed. So being in a prolonged deployment setting will certainly predispose anyone, particular service members, to more adverse reactions to the mental health as well as to the brain, or more risk and chances of getting injured. So here,
that's a bit of a challenge. I'm going to jump in and say that's a bit of a challenge, because in Nigeria we're being stretched. The forces are being deployed all over the country, with insurgents, to the Boko Haram down south, with all the bunkering and everything, and then and all kinds of things going on. So that's a bit of a stretch, but keep going.
Yes, so certainly that's something you have to continue, trying to mitigate, but it's important to then also address any potential injuries or issues that have happened once the service member does come off of deployment. And so what we do is make sure that they're receive comprehensive evaluations to discuss those things, disclose those things, and give them downtime, convalescent time, so that they can seek medical attention, seek medical care as needed.
Before they come back, is there anything that can be done in the field to mitigate against this while they are there on deployment? We don't want to have to wait until they come back to their bases before they get receive medical training care. What do you suggest?
Certainly. So during deployment, it's important that there is attention paid to the sleep or rest and work cycle. So leaders within the force must pay attention to work rest cycle, making sure that people have some downtime to rest and recover, especially after having a very difficult, challenging mission. And while there, also it's important to recognize the signs of mental health struggles or cognitive challenges in any particular service member. Because I mentioned before, these things will mitigate or will undermine the effectiveness of that service member and the safety of their comrades in battle. So being able to think clearly and precisely is very important on the battlefield. So if you notice someone that is struggling with, anger or, either depressive moods or hopelessness, those are signs, those are immediate red flags that possibly that person is maybe struggling with depression, anxiety, or any kind of suicidal ideations. And those should be immediately addressed.
Or they're drinking a lot,
excessive alcohol use, yes, erratic behavior. So noticing a personality change, someone who's normally calm is now very angry and volatile, behaving differently or more blunted of an affect, blunted affect. Those are things that leaders should look out for and try to intervene.
And I think you mentioned something too that I think is very, very good. Providing, and we're going to talk about some of the nutrients that you use at the main hospital, but actually talking about providing some of these, having them available there, so that if people recognize these problems are beginning to happen, that they can start actually using the nutrients. They're not medications, but they're nutrients to help to fortify their brains or improve their mental health there and then in the field. What do you think about that?
And that's a great idea. I would even argue that it's better to have it as part of the deployment package. So when you're being deployed, we know you have to update your equipment, make sure that you have the right tools, uniform, and so on and so forth for the mission. However, we often neglect the things that we need to arm our body with in order to endure the stress of combat and endure and prevent adverse or chronic effects of that exposure.
All right. So what nutrients what would those be? We definitely want to have those. So what would be what should be part of your kit, in other words?
So in terms of brain health, it has been proven that omega-3 fatty acids are very vital in maintaining the integrity of the brain and the neurons. And so nerves and neurons need omega-3 in order to function properly. So making sure that we supplement soldiers with that, just once daily, 1,000 milligram fish oil supplement will go a long way. So that when, in fact, an injury occurs, which we say it again, 23% of service members experience TBI or concussion, they are able to recover a lot quicker and faster.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so omega-3, it's what else? I would throw in zinc, and I would throw in magnesium as well, because you mentioned magnesium, and I was impressed with how you use it in at the hospital and the effects you get from it. Do you want to say a quick thing about magnesium as well?
So magnesium has been proven, especially as a treatment for migraines. We know, again, like I mentioned, concussion, one of the most common side effect or most common symptom or complaint is migraine headaches. And magnesium has been proven to be efficacious in treating migraine headaches. One of the main reasons it helps is that it limits or mitigates the inflammation that comes from insults or injuries to the brain and the head. So using it prophylactically, even before an injury occurs, will help patients or service members to recover more quickly or faster, more effectively, more efficiently after an injury. It does a lot throughout the body in terms of maintaining sleep, overall wellness, mitigating anxiety, stabilizing the neurons and the nerves and the muscles so that you can continue to be at your optimal when you're in the environment, in the service environment.
Awesome. That's great. So omega-3s, magnesium, like I said, I mentioned zinc, vitamin D, especially for we Black people. You know, yes, I'm always talking about vitamin D.
Very important.
Yes. And then vitamin C, because vitamin C helps to repair. I mean, it's important for repair of pretty much every tissue in the body, right?
Yes,
vitamin C.
Yes. Agreed.
All right. So anything else you think should be added to this? I've mentioned 5 now.
What's that?
I mentioned 5. Anything else you can think of, or that you guys use over there?
Well, this is not necessarily a policy right now, but is a recommendation that I would like to propose, that we should be more preventative and less reactionary. There's still a lot to be found out in this arena of brain and mental health, and so. But these are the things that are being shown to help after injury, and I would like to propose that it's best to begin before an injury so that the body can recover and you have the less morbidity, less chronic health. The burden of these injuries on the healthcare system, the military healthcare system, is quite high. So what we can do to mitigate that will be highly effective. And these are very simple solutions. They're not drugs, they're supplements, and they're relatively cheap.
Absolutely. And that all that works for people in third world countries as well, especially for those of us in third world countries where we don't have access to all the super duper MRIs, fMRIs, CT scans, all the things that are so readily available over there. And of course, the ability to monitor drug levels, blood levels of different things. So, but these things that you've mentioned, I think, are, like you said, safe, and they're relatively cheap. So that's great. All right. So in the few minutes we have left, what happens when they come to you at the hospital? I know you mentioned a few things like sleep, making sure that their sleep hygiene is improved upon. We've mentioned Medicaid, we've mentioned good supplementation. Anything else you do in terms of maybe exercise, or what else do you do for them? Because you mentioned a whole comprehensive approach to this.
Yeah, so this requires, so TBI is a multi-system injury. It affects everything from mood to your physical, health in terms of chronic pain. So those who've had TBI are more likely to have chronic pain, either neck, low back. So we have to address all those things. So if you are suffering from chronic pain, your ability to recover and to actually rehab the cognitive, the mental aspect is going to be very impaired, right? So if you're preoccupied by your pain, you cannot really focus on your rehab for your cognition. So we have to address their pain through medications as well as through therapy. So physical therapy often helps. Yoga, mindfulness are all things that we use to mitigate pain. As well as treating the sleep. So sleep is important for just about everything. Your brain is able to repair, your body repairs itself during sleep. So if you're not getting adequate sleep, there's nothing that we can do with medication or treatment that will actually have any long-lasting effect. Sleep is very critical, and it's something that you have no control over. It's very automatic, but there are things that you can do to make sure that you have more of an improved quality of sleep so that your body is given the right tools to repair itself.
Such as making sure that you sleep in a dark room, or at least covering your eyes, no noise, no cell phone.
Yes, so staying off your cell phone within the 1 or 2 hours before sleep, minimizing blue light exposure, again, from all of the devices, your laptops, things like that, making sure that your room is nice and dark and cool, at least 68 degrees is what's recommended. I mean, it's not always possible, but you can certainly try. Doing things that help with relaxation, winding down, such as just doing your stretches, breathing exercises to calm the mind, calm the body. Taking supplementation such as melatonin and magnesium is very helpful in getting more, falling asleep easier and staying asleep. And you want to make sure that you're getting at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Not always possible, but we can
that's not gonna. That's not gonna.
This is the network service of the NTA. We now join our outside broadcast crew for a live telecast. Please stay tuned.
The media, Honorable Minister, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. It's no longer news that the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry that investigated cases of police brutality, as well as the incident of October 20th, 2020, at the Lekki Toll Gate in Lagos, has submitted its report. The submission took place while I was out of the country on national assignment. Unlike many commentators and analysts, we took our time to read and digest the report, and we are now well placed to respond. Without mincing words, let me say right away that never in the history of any judicial panel in this country has its report been riddled with so many errors, inconsistencies, discrepancies, speculations, innuendos, omissions, and conclusions that are not supported by evidence. What is currently circulating in public space is simply a rehash of the unverified fake news that has been playing on social media since the incident of October 20th, 2020. It is simply incredible that a judicial panel set up to investigate an incident has submitted a report laden with allegations, the same allegations it was set up to investigate in the first instance. Instead of sitting for all of 1 year, the panel could have just compiled social media tales by the moonlight on the incident and submitted, saving taxpayers' funds and everyone's time. That report is nothing but the triumph of fake news and intimidation of a silent majority by a vociferous lynch mob. Gentlemen, we've read some critical analysis of the report by a courageous few. One commentator, a lawyer, said the report raised more questions than answers. Another commentator, a journalist, called it a disgraceful report by a disgraceful panel, saying it reported allegations instead of investigating the allegations. Yet another wondered how a judicial panel could use the words massacre in context and equate such to a massacre. All these and many more have raised valid questions on that report. We salute their courage and refusal to be cowed by the rampaging lynch mob that has been screaming blue murder since the report was released. We do not intend to bore you by rehashing details of the discrepancies, innuendos, inconsistencies, and errors in that report. They are already in the public space. Let us, however, point out some key highlights of such discrepancies, errors, omissions, etc. 1. The report threw away the testimony of ballistic experts who testified before it. The experts said inter alia in their testimony, and I quote, "The team finds that from the medical and data examined, including the timeline of arrival at medical facility and the nature of the injuries sustained by the victims who were taken to the 5 medical facilities, that no military-grade live ammunition, high velocity, was fired at the protesters at Lekki toll gate on 20th October 2020 within the time frame of reference 1830 to 2034 hours. I wish to repeat. The team finds that from the medical data examined, including the timeline of arrival at medical facility and the nature of the injuries sustained by the victims who were taken to the 5 medical facilities, that no military-grade live ammunition, high velocity in bracket, was fired at the protesters at Lekki toll gate on 20th October 2020 within the time frame of reference, which is 1830 to 2034 hours. The report continued that the GSW, gunshot wounds, injuries, 4 in number, between 1905 and 1945 hours, which were examined by the team, can be safely identified as being discharged by either low velocity caliber and or artisanal stroke 12 gauge firearms. Artisanal firearms are locally fabricated weapons. What is, however, certain, the report continued, is that at the military personnel deliberately fired military grade live ammunition directly at the protesters, there have been significantly more fatalities and catastrophic injuries recorded. This was clearly not the case. End of quote. The same panel that said it deemed as credible the evidence of the forensic pathologist, Professor John Obafunwa, that only 3 of the bodies on which post-mortem were conducted were from Lekki and only 1 had gunshot injury, went on to contradict itself by saying 9 persons died of gunshot wounds at Lekki. 3. The man whose evidence that he counted 11 bodies in a military van where he was left for dead before he escaped was found to be crucial by the panel. He never testified in person. Rather, the video of his testimony in court was played by someone else. It did not occur to the panel to query the veracity of the testimony of a man who said he was shot and presumed dead, but still had time to count dead bodies inside a supposedly dark van at night. 4. The panel said trucks with brushes underneath were brought to the Lekki toll gate in the morning of October 21, 2020 to clean up bloodstains and other evidence, but still found bullet casings at the same site when it visited it on October 30, 2020. The panel says soldiers picked up bullet casings from Lekki toll gate on the night of October 2020, yet the same panel claimed that policemen came to the same spot to pick the same bullet casings on October 21, 2020. 5. The panel was silent on the family members of those reportedly killed, merely insinuating they were afraid to testify. Even goats have owners who will look for them if they do not return home, not to talk of human beings. Where are the family members of those who were reportedly killed at the Lekki toll gate? If the panel is recommending compensation for the families, what are their identities and addresses? Who will receive the compensations when no family members have shown up to date? 6. How did a man who reported seeing the lifeless body of his brother himself end up being on the list of the panel's deceased persons? 7. How can a judicial panel convince anyone that the names of some casualties of the Lekki toll gate of toll gate incident listed as numbers 3, Jide, 42, Tola, and 43, Wisdom, are not fictitious names? They have no surnames, and yet they were confirmed dead. 8. Why did the judicial panel feel compelled to concoct a massacre in context as a euphemism for massacre? A massacre is a massacre. What is a massacre in context? Phantom massacre. That's what it is. 9. The report never mentioned cases of police personnel and soldiers who were brutally murdered, or the massive destruction of police stations, vehicles, etc. during the NSAS protests. Does this mean that the panel didn't consider policemen and soldiers as human beings? 10. The report didn't make any recommendation on the innocent people whose businesses were attacked and destroyed during the protest in Lagos. I think it was too busy looking for evidence to support its conclusion of massacre in context. It is clear from the ongoing that the report of the panel in circulation cannot be relied upon because its authenticity is in doubt. Besides, the Lagos State government, being the convening authority, has yet to release any official report to the public. Neither has the panel done so. The cowardly leakage of an unsigned report to the public is not enough. Assuming, without conceding, that the report in circulation bears any iota of genuineness, it is basic knowledge that the report of such a panel is of no force until the convening authority issues a white paper and gazette on it. It is therefore too premature for any person or entity to seek to castigate the federal government and its agencies or officials based on such unofficial and unvalidated report. The CNN has been celebrating the leaked report of the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry. In its rush to claim vindication, CNN apparently didn't even read the report before rolling out the drums in celebration. By that action, CNN has celebrated prematurely and has now committed a double faux pas. First, by relying on unverified social media stories and videos to carry out an investigation of the October 23, 2020 incident at Lekki, where it did not have a correspondent on ground. That was the first faux pas. CNN goofed in its report on the findings of the panel, which fell below the main standards of journalism. Secondly, CNN rushed to the air to celebrate an unsigned and unverified report as is riddled with inconsistencies, errors, discrepancies, and innuendos. That is the double faux pas by a news organization that is eager and willing to compromise standards just to claim vindication. Sadly, a section of the Nigerian media has also joined the lynch mob. Honestly, an attempt to vilify government at all costs, they have done themselves a great disservice. How can any news organization worth its salt write an editorial validating this kind of report? Are they not seeing what others, including journalists and lawyers, are seeing? In a shocking twist, a Nigerian newspaper chose to hail what it calls detailed investigation report by CNN, even when the news channel did not even cover the incident of October 20th, 2020. It is a classic case of cutting your nose to spite your face. Conclusions. Gentlemen, there's absolutely nothing in the report that is circulating to make us change our stand that there was no massacre at Lekki on October 20, 2020. I repeat, there is absolutely nothing in the report that is circulating to make us change our stand that there was no massacre at the Lekki toll gate on October 20th, 2020. For us to change our stand, a well-investigated report of the incident that meets all required standards and will withstand every scrutiny must be produced and presented to the public. The report in circulation does not meet those requirements. We also appeal to the families of those allegedly killed in Lekki at the Lekki toll gate to speak out and come forward. It's untenable to say that some families did not come out because they are afraid. With the same families that are afraid and did not come out, will they collect? Will it be morally right for them to come and collect compensation on behalf of their wards they could not even come out to testify for? Any parent who is afraid to testify about the death of his or her child is not worth to be called a parent. We reject the notion that our soldiers and policemen massacred innocent Nigerians at the Lekki toll gate on October 20, 2020. That conclusion is not supported by the weight of available evidence. Indictment for murder is a very serious issue that cannot be done on the basis of allegations and corroborations, as the panel did. Such allegations must be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. The report in circulation is calculated to embarrass the federal government and its agencies without foolproof evidence. The federal government has never condoned the abuse of the rights of Nigerians by security agencies under any guise. Hence, it disbanded SARS and encouraged states to set up the panels to investigate reports of human rights abuses allegedly committed by the disbanded SARS personnel. 37 policemen and 6 soldiers who died across the country during the EndSARS protests are also Nigerians, and they're human beings and should not be forgotten. Those who have engaged in premature celebration of the report in circulation should now go back and read it thoroughly and tell Nigerians whether it can pass any serious scrutiny. We are saddened that anyone died at all during the EndSARS protests, as the life of every Nigerian, and indeed every human, is sacrosanct. As we have disclosed many times, 57 civilians, 37 policemen, and 6 soldiers were killed across the country during the protest, and we commiserate with their families. Gentlemen, I thank you for your kind attention. I will now take a couple of questions.
Thank you very much. At this point, I would like to declare the floor open for your questions. Please, like I said earlier, you tell us your name, the media organization you are representing, and please restrict your questions to the issues addressed by the Honorable Minister in his presentation. Please, let's see your hands. Okay, 1, 2, 3. We are taking 3 questions for this press briefing. Thank you very much. Let's take you, please.
Good morning, Honorable Minister. My name is Jesu Ade from TVC News. We have been privileged to cover other briefings that you've held with us on this particular matter. And what you kept saying is we should await the report of this panel. You had so much confidence in the panel. What changed? Is it because it's not really in the favor of the federal government, or something actually happened? What changed, actually?
Let's take you. We just take the 3 questions headlong. Let's take you.
Thank you. My name is Leon Osigbe of the Nigerian Tribune. So just a few days ago, the president said he would wait for a reaction from Lagos State government to the panel's report before making a pronouncement. I'm wondering why you are in a hurry to speak on the on the panel's report when the Lagos State people and Lagos State government that set it up has not reacted. Secondly, the U.S. Secretary of State, Blinken, addressed the issue of this NSAS panel report and urged the Nigerian government to be sure that it ensures accountability and address the grievances of the victims. So, by what you are saying now, are we to believe that the U.S. Secretary of State has been misinformed concerning the NSAS, Lagos State NSAS panel report? Thank you, sir.
The last one, please.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister. My name is Eniola Akinkoto from The Punch. One of the questions I would have loved to ask has already been asked, so I ask one more. Some human rights groups had called on you to resign over this, over the report, the details of the report. So I just want to get it on record from you. Are you saying you are not going to resign? That's it. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, you may please wish to give your response, please. Thank you.
I would address the last question first. I would have said I will address the last question first. I've had, there have been clamors for my resignation almost from the day I took this office. So I take it in my stride. The second question talked about the report, the statement of the U.S. Secretary of State, and the President's pronouncement. The President's pronouncement was clear, which was that he will wait for the report of the entire, all the panels set up in all the states. He was not referring to Lagos State report. As for the statement by the Secretary of State, the U.S., the question to ask is that if that report was turned in by a panel set up by the U.S., will it pass the test? The first question had to do with what changed. Why are we not waiting for the report of Lagos State? Lagos State is the only convening authority, and Lagos State, of course, is going to issue its own, white paper report. I'm only commenting on a document which is circulating in public domain. A document based on which many of you have written editorials. A document on which people have contributed freely. And it's only fair that the government also puts across its own side. Otherwise, if only one side of the commentary is heard, that is what we believed. So this has nothing to do, and it is with no prejudice to whatever Lagos State is going to come up with in its white paper. I thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, this is the much we can take for today. Thank you, and God bless you. We have come to the end of this press briefing. Thank you.
Too much
the way Ntalive pulls this back.
Don't forget to send in your messages.
There's a difference between picking, child, and issue.
لا تلقوا بأيديكم إلى التهلكة. That is the
You can do more with less people.
If we have a better way of addressing these issues, taking care of...
Congratulations, you've been able to sign Ntalive right now from RB Leipzig.
So you take water before your workout.
people have used their phone, using TikTok to do this like.
Should I go for test?
A lot of people don't even have resources.
I'm Cecil, and this is the Medley Show on NTA.
Ẹ kú dédé àsìkò yìí ẹ̀yin èèyàn wa ẹ sì káàbọ̀ sí yàrá ìròyìn Fọlákẹ́mi Adésọ̀nà Abina ní orúkọ tèmi ń jẹ́.
Onye akụkọ wa nketa bụ Omenka Amarachukwu na nketa.
Masu kallo assalamu alaikum barkanmu da zagayowar ranar samun yancin kai.
Hooray! NTA language is 10. 10 years of qualitative broadcast in our local languages, popularizing our language, promoting our indigenous culture, food, costume, art, monuments of our core moral and ethic values. Come, celebrate with us and help propel our indigenous language to greater heights. A win for the elevation of our local languages is a win for us all.
Aquaculture is a world emergent industry and one of the fastest growing food production subsector in the world. And due to the apparently declining global fish catch, aquaculture is crucial for food security and nutrition for a rapidly growing global population in the nearest future. Approximately 200 million people around the world are involved in fishing and aquaculture, one way or the other, with efforts to provide around 100 million tons of fish every year. This will mean an average consumption of 16 kilos per person, but in many places where fish is the principal source of animal protein, average consumption is far higher. Much of the bountiful harvest is produced not just by large industrial operators, but by local small and medium-scale producers. And do you know that half the fish supplied to world markets come from developing countries? In Africa, Latin America, and Asia, Africa is blessed with abundant resources, human and natural, that are only now being properly tapped and harnessed. The success story of aquaculture abound in Nigeria, Ghana, and Malawi. And we bring the focus of the world onto glaring cases in Nigeria, which is the Ijebu-Iriwe Fish Farm village in Ijebu-Ode, which rears the African catfish.
There is no end to knowledge, and the industry too, there is still room for them to learn more. So mountain training and training and retraining is also a key to enhance productivity.
Iriwe Farms has gained international recognition from bodies like FAO of the United Nations, DFID, JICA, UNDP.
On our own part is to source for more fund for them, because really speaking, there is no way you can really grow well in this kind of business without adequacy of resources. Without borrowing, without getting some loans, there is a limit on the growth. With 4,937 pounds, if they have 2 billion access to 2 billion naira, that may not be even enough as working capital. in a year.
We're one of the founders of who started aquaculture in Ghana, Crystal Lake, in collaboration with Water Research Institute. We had to do a trial to assess whether the local species could grow competitively in Ghana. And so this was partly funded by Danida. So we did that and we established that the local species could grow competitively in Ghana. This is, of course, and taking into consideration how much tilapia is being sold in Ghana. So it proved that aquaculture could be viable in Ghana.
What we are giving out today, because previously, like I told you, you harvest your fish at the end of 6 months, and you may ask yourself, are they being hatched in the cage? But now, farmers who are the customers tells you, look, Mr. Limo, your products are good, your fingerlings are very good. Where is the source? And we tell them the source. And I'm happy because it's a win-win situation. You grow, I grow. So whenever I get the feedback from the customers, it makes me happy. And also, we try to do extension services. All our customers that we supply, we make sure every month we go and check their body weight, help them to calculate the biomass, and advise them on what feed change, what you have to do, what you don't have to do. And I think it's helping the industry a lot.
I started, hatching and selling fingerlings. I started with 3,000, but right now I am selling 4 million of fingerlings and 2,000 fry. I went to Nigeria last year. I learned, wow, that was a shock to me because when I saw the extent and the progress that our fellow Nigerians are doing, when I came back, I said, that is a revolution. The catfish industry in Nigeria is a revolution that is required here in Malawi.
As the global demand increases and more opportunities are created, better and improved nutrition for children with dietary requirements met by the consumption of fish. New job opportunities like feed processing, fish fingerlings, construction of net, and other fish farming related activities to drastically and effectively reduce poverty and also feed growing population.
Of all our enterprise development programs, of all of them, agriculture is the number one that has helped so many people out of poverty. Because nobody wants to die inside poverty. Able to tell them, look, there is a way out of this poverty, and they are ready to. And when you get to the side, you now see people who are nowhere before, and today they own houses, they own cars, they have their children in good schools, they can eat well, and all that.
My name is Sunday Oyo. The business is okay because for what we are doing, I have a wife and 4 kids, and I'm living well with my kid with the business because what we are making per week is okay for me and my family.
The success recorded in the recent past years, which is already attracting investors, more national and international investors are invited to come and invest and partake of the riches of investing in aquaculture.
NTA Tuesday Live, analytical, in-depth, educative and interactive on national issues accommodating all sides of opinions.
We as a people have understood that we have to fight corruption before it fights us back.
Poverty has a financial index, so it should be fought also with a financial weapon. Give it to the social investments program. It has been a very courageous battle.
Tuesday Live, every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Join us.
There's just something about speed and simplicity, but that speed and simplicity can be deceiving when you get behind the wheel. 30-year-old Emily sent this text message to her husband: "I love you and I'll try to make you happy." Moments later, Emily was killed when her car slammed into the back of a tractor trailer. 18-year-old Midi was also texting when his car slammed into the back of a truck at 80 miles per hour. His final text was,
"Driving and Facebooking is not safe. Ha ha."
You probably think that this thing can happen to you. You are not alone. 55% of young adult drivers say that it is easy to text and drive. 3/4 of the same young adults feel that they are really good texting behind the wheels. Reality is, they are all delusional. That quick look at your phone takes longer than you think. 5 seconds are really long. Imagine you're driving on the road and someone suddenly covers your face for 5 quick seconds, like this. You will probably feel very lucky if you didn't crash. But you chose to take your sight off the road just like that anytime you're sending or reading a text. Texting and driving is fast becoming the leading cause of teens' death on the road world over, surpassing even drinking and driving. But if you think dying in a car crash is the worst thing that happened to you, I tell you it is not. You can survive after you've killed someone else. Imagine spending the rest of your life knowing you killed someone just because of a text message. Now imagine going to jail just because of text message. Still think it will never happen to you? Still think you're the special one? There are so many that have been found guilty of texting while driving. But you can make a difference, just like so many young people have vowed not to text and drive. Leave your cell phone alone while driving. If you must send a text message, pull off the road into a parking lot or anywhere that is safe. No text is so important that it should cost your life or the life of someone else. You are not different. You are not special. You're just another accident waiting to happen if you do not desist from texting and driving. So, don't text and drive.
Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful with the NTA News mobile app, the one-stop information center. Real news at your fingertip. Be the first to report by uploading first-hand information on the You Report link, and be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headline.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for an update of the news at 11. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has reacted to the End SARS panel of inquiry report from Lagos State, saying the report did not reflect the true situation of things, insisting there were no massacres. He also charged the families of the alleged victims to come up with their claims.
That anyone died at all during the End SARS protest, as the life of every Nigerian and indeed every woman is sacrosanct. As we have disclosed many times, 57 civilians, 37 policemen, and 6 soldiers were killed across the country.
And President Muhammadu Buhari engaged Senate President Ahmed Lawan on some critical national issues, as well as bills passed by the National Assembly towards good governance and effective service delivery. Amongst them is the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, now awaiting presidential assent.
I don't think there will be any day that you will have a political issue that everybody will say the same thing about it, that agrees with you without any amendment. So when we have any section of our party disagreeing with something, we should be engaging. That's why we are politicians. I don't think it is right to say that governors have disagreed. Maybe some governors might have said they don't like it this way, but that's normal.
The federal government is assuring Russia of deeper investment relationship that will be mutually beneficial as the world looks beyond the pandemic. At a meeting with a coalition of 19 Russian companies led by Nigeria's ambassador to Russia and Nigerian investment community, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Ni Adebayo, assured of adequate returns on investment.
Our purpose of the presence in Nigeria now is to explore the demand of Nigerian market and to develop the strategy.
The government of Nigeria will give every support to all the decisions that will be taken between the businesses, all the B2B meetings that you'll be holding.
Now there is a very strong feeling that it's necessary for Russia to come to Africa.
Well, that's an update of the news for now. We thank you for staying with us. We have more reports later in the day.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Hi everyone, I'm Nnamdi Adipo. Welcome to Insight. So a couple of weeks back, the executive chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mohammed Nami, was elected as the 15th president of the Commonwealth Association of Tax Administrators, CATA, a group more popularly, of course, known as CATA, like I just said, for a 3-year tenure. On this episode, I would attempt to get some clarifications on the importance of Nigeria clinching a leading role in that association and, of course, use the opportunity to raise other issues on the national tax policy. I'd also delve into the issue of entrepreneurship for development, and that promises to be an enlightening session. Elizabeth Omori is still away, but she will be back presently, and we're sure to have her here next week. For now, let's get started. So why do we do taxes? Taxation is clearly one of the practical means of raising revenue to finance government spending on the goods and services that most of us demand. And while tax policies may vary from country to country, most regional and continental blocks have a coalition or, I would say, tax administration body that provides synergy and some sense of commonality on how to adjust a tax regime within a system for best results. Nigeria, of course, belongs to the Commonwealth Association of Tax Administrators. It's more popularly called CATA. And we just recently clinched a leadership role in that association. By the way, CATA was established in 1978 by a decision of the Commonwealth Finance Ministers. The organization helps member countries through conferences, training programs, publications, and knowledge sharing to develop effective tax administration that promotes sustainable development and good governance. I think that's enough for context and background, so let me introduce my guest proper now. His name is Michael Olufemi Olarinde, Technical Assistant on Tax Policy to the Executive Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service. Incidentally, he is also Nigeria's country correspondent to CATA. Welcome to Insight.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
So the Commonwealth Association of Tax Administrators is not a monetary unification in the core sense of it. And so I'm not sure that issues of commodity and capital tax coordination are fundamental subjects that, that you people discuss during conferences and trainings. I would, however, like to know how Qatar factors in the harmonization of, how would I describe it now, distortionary effects of existing differences in national tax systems within Commonwealth member nations, all 47 countries at that.
So, if I may say something, thank you once more for having me. Qatar, being an organization, of course, like you said, taxation varies from country to country. And taxation is actually about studying the features and characteristics of business activity within a location and trying to government taxing search with respect to the tax policies and tax legislation that are bound in such country. So, however, taxation is something that is, there's a uniform tax policy which every country tries to adopt. And so what are we looking at in Qatar? We're looking at collaboration in tax administration. So irrespective of the differences in our different jurisdictions, the principle of taxation is one. And of course, every jurisdiction needs to conform with that basic principle of taxation. So and world over, there's a move to convergence of principles, convergence of how you perform your functions in respect to tax administration. So we could say best practice. What is best practice? Though there's no definition for best practice, but we know what practice is good. And that is why the association needs to come together and study the peculiarities of each jurisdiction, and in order to have a common and uniform model of taxation within the member countries.
Uniform, you say. You've mentioned convergence, and that's quite striking. What's the benchmark if we're, like we've established already that regimes might vary from country to country, but there is a benchmark, you would say. What is it? What is our benchmark, especially for countries within Qatar?
So when you talk about benchmark, of course, like we said, administration may vary from country to country, depending on the business environment or tax environment, and which is about the legislation that allows for taxation in such country. So now, you know, in taxation we have what we call the tripods of taxation, which you start from the tax policy, then you move to the tax legislation, and you go to the tax administration. Now, we know what is a good tax policy. So once you have your tax policy right, now you use that to develop your tax legislation before you now run your tax administration. Now, countries need to come together, to now look at what is best as tax policy in every country. And of course, what is good in Nigeria is good in the UK, is good in the Bahamas, and is good everywhere. So you look at what we actually engender resource revenue mobilization within. And looking at the context, of course, you are allowed to now adopt whatever decision has been taken to the peculiarity of your jurisdiction. So, like I said, convergence is you converge and you also present the peculiarity within your own jurisdiction. And because everybody at the table are experts, they'll be able to tailor whatever suits you. Having an omnibus decision that can actually cover everybody. That is just what the convergence seeks to achieve.
Forgive my naivety, but I don't know, you've mentioned something else that, that just stood out there. Good tax policy. What is a good tax policy?
Okay. So a good tax policy is the one that considers, number one, it considers getting revenue for government to fund public infrastructure, to fund the business of government, and also a good tax policy must follow the principles of taxation, which means it should be simple, it should be fair, it should be equitable. It provides for equitable, that you ensure that people who earn more pay more, and also that there's no disparity in the application of taxes. So that is what a good tax policy seeks to achieve.
We'll come back to this whole issue of good tax policy, and we'll pick certain elements of that you've mentioned here in the course of our conversation. But let me just return back to the issue of Qatar. I mean, at the level of Qatar, can you confirm that tax competition exists among member countries in a manner that promotes and engender pro-growth tax policies in member states? While you're answering that, please speak to the import of Nigeria's current leadership of the association and the correlation between that and the issue of tax competition.
Okay, when you say tax competition, I'm sure you're trying to look at if a country tries to offer lower taxes in order to...
Especially within Qatar now, and how that balance is out there.
In order to encourage persons to shift their profit to one jurisdiction and the other. Okay, well, that is even one of the reasons why countries need to come together, so that you both look at your peculiarities, look at how to have the one that ensures that countries don't do that. And in the world over right now, you know, you look at how you do your taxes, how you don't shortchange even your citizens, people who do your business in your jurisdiction. And if I may throw some light into Nigerian tax system.
Please.
Nigerian tax is what we call worldwide income. So irrespective of where you earn your income, you still have to pay your taxes in Nigeria if you are a Nigerian resident. So what it means is that even when you go to those countries and you do business there, once you come back home, you're still subject to taxation. So that's one. And when we come together as Qatar or as countries, we encourage to have what we call maybe a double taxation treaty, or you have a form of treaty that allows credit of tax from one jurisdiction to the other, which means no country is still being shortchanged. So once you come together, those are the progressive discussion you have. And now going to Qatar,
yes.
What it's a Nigerian presidency,
yes, for our current leadership, yes.
Nigeria right now. Right now, you, given your background to the issue of Qatar, you already said it's an association that ensures that countries tap from the knowledge of one another, also collaborate for effective tax administration, and also in innovation in tax administration. Right now, for Nigeria, you know, let me just narrow it to the issue of the business environment right now. You know that we are moving from the era of brick and mortar in business activity and transactions, and now going to the electronic base. Digital. And what do you need? You need data. You need information to ensure to be able to capture transactions, businesses. And what in doing that, you need exchange of information. You need information sharing. You need data. You need even sharing of innovative ideas among members. And it is one of the mandate, essence of Qatar. It's actually to ensure collaboration among members and to ensure that they benefit from even knowledge of the advanced one. And there is a bias, or I would say there is a particular concentration on actually on the developing countries, trying to ensure that developing countries actually comes at par with the developed world. And it is one of the critical mandates of Qatar, and which has been done. So now, also you look at when you come to personnel training, capacity building for, of course, you cannot say that the capacity in the UK is same in Nigeria. So when you have a UK in the room, in an association with Nigeria, it is definitely that you're going to get some capacity upgraded, especially capacity of personnel. And over the years, I would say Nigeria have enjoyed some of the trainings at Qatar. When you talk about IFF, in illicit financial flows, it's an issue that has been a problem. And when you talk about it, it's not only when there's a fraud. Sometimes we have what we call the aggressive tax avoidance. And aggressive tax avoidance occur because maybe a particular a company or a firm have a cheaper way of doing business in another place. So it moves the profits from one jurisdiction to another. So if this is done, there is always the collaboration among members can help to ensure that the right jurisdiction gets what is fair, due and fair to them.
That's quite interesting. So I get the elaborate picture and synergy you've just painted here on Carter's role, and just how important it is for a country like Nigeria to be part, not just part of this body, but to actually lead this body. I understand for a 3-year tenure.
Yeah, it is for a 3-year tenure. Yeah.
Okay, great. Fantastic. I did say we would revisit the issue of some of the elements you mentioned while you were answering my question on what a good tax policy is. So I get the explanation that at a fundamental level, a tax system exists to allocate the cost of government in some fair way. But I would like for you to explain taxation from the angle of encouraging or discouraging certain types of behavior, or as a tool to correct market imperfections and to modify the distribution of income or wealth. Can you cite specific examples of how the Nigerian tax policy applies to each of the elements that I have mentioned? Perhaps begin with the one on modifying the distribution of income, as well as taxation between the rich and the poor.
Okay, I'll strictly let me start from the basics. When you talk about, you're talking about trying to modify between the rich and the poor. Let me take, for example, what we call the personal income tax. Personal income tax is a tax which individuals pay on their income. So when an individual earns income, it pays tax. And in Nigeria presently, the personal income tax is paid to the states where the such person is resident. Now, how do you now use that to ensure that the one who earns more pay more? So we have what we call the table of tax rates. Okay. The table of tax rate now has a bracket. So your income bracket is dependent on your tax rate is dependent on your income bracket. So it is not one size fits all. So there's a percentage that you start from 7%. If your income is about 500, and then you move on to, so the last band is even higher, it's about 24%. So the income you earn determines how much you pay. So what it means is that government is collecting more from those that earn more and using it to fund for those that earn less. So, you know, when government collects that money across board, you channel the same money to the provision of infrastructure. And this infrastructure will be used by everybody across the board. So I believe that's a way for redistributing income. Also, let me go to consumption tax, VAT. It's a known tax on consumption. So if you earn a minimum wage and you cannot afford, what you can just afford is to a cup of rice. Or let me say, because that's a basic food product, let me say you can afford a rubber shoe. That's a shoe made of rubber. So the price of such will be low. The price of such is low, and you pay the VAT under 5% of that particular amount. But if you earn, let me say you earn 500,000 naira and you can afford to buy a Gucci shoe,
that was imported into the country.
That was imported into the country.
So you pay more VAT.
You pay more VAT.
So this applies typically when we talk about attempting to correct certain behavior.
Yes.
It aligns properly. Would you say we are fully exploiting personal income tax, and not just personal income tax, personal property tax as well, because they would seem to align in a manner that achieves satisfactory progressivity, meaning that a situation where the rich pay proportionately more taxes on the many properties that they own, and just as much as they earn. You know, use Abuja as a case in point for me, and use the issue of personal property to begin with.
Okay. Now, when you talk about you disagreeing with whether...
Yes, because why I tend to disagree, sorry for butting in again,
no problem.
Is because we have a massive informal sector in Nigeria, and part of the challenge that we do have is the lack of data. And to aggregate first off, to even aggregate what you amass as income tax from the generality of the population, you need to have a database that suggests or puts a figure to the number or how you're taxing. And this is a group, an informal, the informal sector is a group that is not, we do not have, do we have a database for the informal group in Nigeria?
Well,
so how do we tax a group that we do not have data on? I mean, please just help me clarify that. And of course, we'll come back to the issue and the question that I asked you about personal property tax as well.
So if I may start, maybe I should start from personal income tax. Now, when you say, what I just said is that you are a low-level income earner. Let me even say today, if you are earning minimum wage, now, government have said no tax. So don't pay tax if you are earning just the minimum wage.
That's 30,000 naira.
Yes, 30,000 naira or 360,000 naira in a year annually. So what I'm saying is that even at that you don't pay, but some people who earn more pays, and you still enjoy the same infrastructure. So it is administered by the states. So we have to also go back to capacity. So do the state have enough? How many states have enough capacity to actually go all the way to ensure that they tax well? And you talk about data. You know, we operate what we call self-assessment in Nigeria. So what the law says is that at the end of the year, if you earn income, compute your taxable income and compute your tax and remit to government. Aside from that, we have what we call the pay as you earn under the personal income tax, which means the employer needs to charge a certain amount from the salary of his employee and remit. So those are so when you now talk about have we explored enough, I would say no, we have not, because even you can use taxation as a tool to actually bridge gap. Now I will go to what we call benefit in kind.
Okay.
Which means that even when you earn a lot, you drive. Maybe your organization still fund your official fund, give you a vehicle, house, and all those things. What the law says is that such benefits should be quantified in terms of money and added to and forms your income, and all should be taxed. How many states actually even explore this? This one will bring more income to them. So let's go back to the informal sector, like you asked about. Yeah, data is key.
Yes.
So you go to some states, they've tried to do what we call the presumptive tax regime, which means they go to the informal sector, have a parameter, sit down with the association and business groups to decide what constitutes income of such business group, and come up with a tax system, a taxable income, and a tax rate that we actually show like a fairness to such group. So some states have done that, and they are taxing the informal sector very well.
You've all, you've answered my question about I'm somewhat convinced about the personal income tax. Well, you've left out the personal property tax. Yes, please, can you quickly speak to that?
So let me talk about property tax.
And why we're yet to fully explore.
Now, when you talk about property tax, we have different level of property tax. So we have what we call at the local government level, what we call the tenement rate.
Yes.
Which means you need to pay a certain amount. So that is administered at the local government level. I'm aware that many states are charging this. However, FCT have had some issues with this over the time because of the nature. We have we have the FCT Internal Revenue Service, and we have the local government revenue authorities, which are because of the cosmopolitan nature of FCT, I think they've had some issues in the past. I can't remember what the situation is now. But we also have what we call the capital gains tax. Capital gains tax is simply when such properties are being transferred from one person to the other, the income, the proceeds of such is taxable under the law.
Okay.
So if you actually acquire a property for 1 million naira and 5 years down the line, you're selling it for 5 million naira.
Okay.
What the law says is that the difference from the acquisition price and the disposal price should be chargeable to what we call capital gain tax. You charge 10% of it. And I will also agree with you that to what extent does the tax authority even aware of these transfers? And that is where synergy among government agencies need to come in. Most of the time, these transfers are done, and the land registries are aware of this. So they need to flag this to tax authorities to ensure that such taxes are captured and collected.
Unfortunately, we are out of time, but just before you go, I'd like for you to just talk about something real quick, if it's possible. I see what Lagos is doing with regards to tax administration, particularly in the area of electronic payments on multiple platforms, as a matter of fact. And of course, I know there are other states across the country equally doing just as well. How are we handling the issue or challenges of multiplicity of taxes? And by the way, I mean, more importantly, where are we with the issue of non-payment of tax refunds? Is that still a taxpayer's right, or it's a mere privilege? Seeing that the practicability of some of these rebates or refunds are curtailed in most cases where they apply.
Okay, I would disagree with you that we don't pay tax refund.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just asking, where are we with it?
Okay, we do pay tax refund. Over time, when a taxpayer is entitled to a tax refund, we have been paying. What may actually be as of probably maybe there is a delay, that's before now. However, in the last year, 2020 Finance Act, there was a modification when FRA was given the power to automate, so that we address some of the issues we're having with digital transactions.
Is there a tax refund on VAT?
Yeah, there's tax refund on any form of taxes.
But it's not very popular, yeah. Sometimes I've had the opportunity to travel, sometimes, and I did a couple of shopping, not even within the airport area. Okay. And when I got to the airport, a couple of times, I've had to take my receipts to a tax office within the airport, and then I get a rebate or I get a refund. Some percentages of the VAT that I paid on goods and services.
Now, you know what you have just said. I'm sure you're speaking about the UK.
Not just the UK, as a matter of
some
fact.
other countries.
Yes.
I know it's very. So what we do in Nigeria is that when you are not supposed to pay tax, if such income is exempted, you don't pay tax initially, or if you are a class of persons that have zero rated income. If it can be tracked even from the beginning, your invoice is zero rated. Okay. However, if you don't have such information provided, of course you can't get. But let me go back to tax refund. Okay. Tax refund also comes when you have paid tax that you're not supposed to pay, or when you pay excess of taxes, you pay tax in excess of what you're supposed to pay. The law says you should just apply. But what we have had is that it has to be budgeted, and when it's budgeted, that's when we have issues. But because we had just one budget, however, in the last Finance Act, it has been expanded to ensure that every tax head have its own budget so that there will be enough money to take care of refunds from different tax types. And so I'm sure we're handling the issue of tax refund very well at the federal level. I can't speak for the state.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see where that goes. I think the conversation will take up some other time when you're on the program. Unfortunately, we've overshot our time. And so, I mean, hopefully I'll be able to bring you back here some other time. Okay. Michael Olufemi Olarinde, Technical Assistant Tax Policy to the Executive Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service, and Nigeria's country correspondent to Qatar. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Thank you for having
me. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So these days, I hear people describe themselves as entrepreneurs, and I'm truly happy for them, especially when they are young persons and bustling with energy. Entrepreneurs take action and they create value in the process by bringing to the table new products and services. They stimulate new employment, which ultimately results in the acceleration of economic development. And so to gain more insights on this issue, entrepreneurial consultant and advocate Christian Asheruku joins me to discuss the issue of entrepreneurship for development. Did I get that right? How do you pronounce your last name? Sorry.
My name is Christian Ashaiku. You're quite right.
Ashaiku. I got
understand?
it right.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
yes.
got it.
Welcome to Insight, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you so
very
much.
well. So in some climes, especially in the West, entrepreneurs are thought of as national assets to be cultivated, motivated, and most times remunerated to the possible, greatest possible extent. Would you say then, or perhaps let me say, would you agree that entrepreneurship is important to the extent that it could very well determine the prospect and future of a country? I mean, even on the world stage, of course, riding on research and innovation, as well as the propensity to stimulate wealth.
Well, you said it all. You said it all. Entrepreneur is the key. I mean, it's what I call is the hub of any economy. You understand? What is skill? You have a skill, your ability to transfer your skill into creating wealth. You can have any kind of skills, but until you are able to convert it into wealth, it becomes that's what we call entrepreneur. Converting skill into wealth. Whatever thing you learn, you make a good thing out of it. And that is the hub of every economy. It's what makes a home to grow, makes a society to survive. So it is very important, especially in a society like us, like Nigeria, where everybody have a beautiful idea. I think, and we actually been practicing it from day one. It's just sometimes we tend to move out. I think every Nigerian, to be fair, is an entrepreneur. That you see that in the Igbo apprenticeship system. Okay. They convert, which is, to be honest, we should be proud of the Igbo apprentice system, because if you go to the Alaba market, they teach you, they learn a skill, and after some time, they set you up. It's like an incubator. They said it's the highest incubator of successful small businesses worldwide. And I think Nigerians should be proud of that. And if we build on that, I think that will be one of the ways to grow our wealth as a country.
Let me just backtrack a bit and take our conversation back to the core foundation for any business which is having an idea in the first instance. Yeah. So we know that an idea is the first milestone in the process of building a successful business and sustaining an enterprise. I mean, it is a function, or can be a function of how the entrepreneur dabbles with innovative ideas. Let me pick on your experience as an avowed entrepreneurship advocate, hoping to rebrand the minds of our of our youth, basically, here in the country, towards economic dependency through entrepreneurship. How often are you inundated with creative ideas from prospective entrepreneurs? And are there markets for every promising idea out there, even if the idea is somewhat esoteric in nature or maybe informal and very mundane?
Yeah, you see, an idea is, I would say an idea is only relevant when it solves a problem. Everything we do, I say...
That's kind of deep. You know, it just struck me.
Yeah. When I'm from the filmmaking background, and sometimes they come to me and they say, I want to make this movie. And I'm just saying to myself, do people want to watch your movie? Do they want to hear the story? That is, so you can have a great idea, but your ability to transfer your idea to solving a particular problem is what that makes it work. So an idea must be able to solve a problem. And when that is understood, I think perhaps the only limitation is how do you convert the idea into wealth? And that is tutor. You know, to be able to have an idea is energy, you feel it. But being able to convert it, you need a little bit of understanding of how entrepreneurship works. How do I make wealth out of what I have? For instance, if I can sing, how do I turn my singing into money? And that's what the Nigerian youth have done well. If I'm a good actor.
Very well, I dare say.
Yeah. If I'm a good actor, how do I convert it into money? Sometimes they don't know how to sell themselves. You understand? So it is all that. Anything you do, if I can make biscuit, how do I make a biscuit and sell it? So these are different things. So having a great idea is one thing.
Okay.
Using it to solve a problem is another thing. Then being able to convert it into wealth is the third step for me.
So what do you basically look out for when you're coming up with an idea? Do I deliberately look out for areas where I think there are lacunas and my idea could just provide value in that space?
Yeah, I would say, I always say, if you do what you do best.
Use the film making industry for instance.
Let me come this way. If you do, the passion is very important.
Great.
If you do what you do best, you never work again. It's the same. So I always say
that's
to
another
people,
deep one.
Yeah, I always say try and follow what you really love to do.
Okay.
Look
So
at
passion.
it deep. Yeah, look at your passion. So whatever happens, you are there because it's your passion. You're not working, you're not suffering. It's not like you're going to slave. So you are enjoying what you do. And then as you think, okay, you say to myself, how many people want what I'm doing now? It's number 2. Understand?
Aha.
Okay, this idea, this lovely thing I can do. For instance, okay, and we come to film work.
Okay.
Sometimes you only see people in front of the camera. I like to work with people. I work mostly with people behind the camera as well. So you could be a cameraman, learn how to use the camera. Maybe your passion is to take pictures. You're a photographer. You begin to take pictures. All right. Now, how do I make my photography? The truth is people need pictures, but which kind of people, what kind of photography do you want to look at? Is it the modeling, or you are the one that like the journalists, journalists, they love photography. You want to tell story with it. So all those are kind of photography you want to take. That's 2. Now, your ability to convert it into proper, make it so beautiful that people want to consume it, is a third part of it.
That's creating a unique, that's what we'll call unique selling proposition.
Thank you. That's correct.
But please go ahead. I'm having, I'm having fun listening to you.
Yeah. So what I would say is this. So I have an idea, beautiful. I'm a photographer. I like to take pictures. That's one part of it, that I have the passion, so I'm not suffering. Anywhere I go, I take pictures. I like to do it with my phone these days. And all of you have a phone, yeah? Then from there, you say, okay, I need to create a niche. Should I be taking photographs of models? If that's what I want to specialize in, then you need to be specific. So you begin to learn, because it takes time. My friend would call it school money. You need to spend time, learn, make a mistake, stay there. And the more mistake you make, you're learning, because the mistake is something, if you make a mistake, then you've learned. You won't make it again. You grow on it. And with time, you become an expert. And in fact, as a matter of fact, I'm calling some of our young producers in Nigeria, I'm calling them experts, because they've come up with something unique. They come up with some beautiful sound, and which is selling around the world. Who is an expert? They are expert in what they do. And so if you continue to do what you do, you become an expert. And don't forget, it has to be solving a problem in the society to a particular set of people.
It has to be targeted at solving a problem. You said something about mistakes, and it just reminded me of what a friend of mine, a very close friend would always say. He would say there's no such thing as mistakes. Yes. They are lessons in retrospect.
Thank you.
You use them as stepping stone and as guide for whatever step you take in the future. Sure. So I've had the opportunity to speak about the growth of business incubation centers for startups, noticeably in Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt. These are areas that are known to be quite a few of them. But we know that venturing for capital is still a major issue. So in the event of the absence of investors or venture capitalists, what other options can an intending entrepreneur use to get capital for a business, and what could determine the success of attracting investment or funds to one's business, whether it's a one-man business or it's a two-man business, that you intend to start, basically?
I mean, this is sometimes I'm going to break a lot of people's heart here. And I always say to people, if you have a beautiful idea and you want money, let's use the simplest language, to make it work, you want an investor. One, being able to propose it in the right way is important. That's where the tutor is. For instance, why will you come to me and say, give me money to do business? Show me how putting my money into your business is going to bring me money. And the money will be yours. Because everybody wants to make more money. So if you can come up with an idea and you're able to sell it to me, that if I put 1 million, I'm going to get 1.2 million in 3 months, and I can see it, then that is it. So that is why it is important for everybody that want to, in the UK, we call it the business plan. A little bit of cash flow focus. All those ones, that tutoring, that is what the incubator center will definitely, that's what they provide today in Nigeria,
yes,
which is very important. You cannot come up, you may have a beautiful idea, but if you don't have a business plan, you must not know how to write it. It doesn't have to be all that. But at least have a plan. So, okay, from here to here, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I need from here to here. So when you're telling somebody, oh, if you give me 1 million, I'm going to make so amount of money, and this is what I'm going to use, this is what I have already, the man will listen to you into your skill. He want to make more money. He's definitely going to invest. So that is the best way to get investment. Of course, the federal government is doing a lot. Throwing money around.
I was going to actually come to that and ask you to underscore the importance of the role being played currently by the federal government in its effort towards strengthening microeconomic structures and businesses. I mean, the government gives loans and grants directly to entrepreneurs and small businesses to help them grow their startups. These schemes are known to have helped keep some businesses afloat, as a matter of fact. There is NDE as well, and a host of others. Can you speak to the general impact of some of these efforts by the federal government?
Well, because of course I'm new, I may not know all the details, but you know
I get
truth.
That. But you have a fair idea of what's been happening.
For instance, in the UK, I'll be using where I'm coming from. In the UK, you get a lot of small schemes which is targeted at young people and even entrepreneurs of all ages. The most important thing is that is normally for the startup. And if you can't start well with 10,000, you can't start well with 20 million. It's always important to learn to start small. Sure. It's always good. If you can't do well with small, you can't do well with big.
Say 1 million naira will give me the opportunity to gain plenty of experience in terms of mistakes.
Exactly. Because if you have it all, if you make mistake, you're going to zero. But if you begin to
But I can make the mistake 1 million times.
Exactly. And you're still there. You see? So that is very important. No, I think it's important to grow the skill, the tenacity, and the strength of. And I always say to people, I don't understand no. In theater psychology, that's what we're taught. If somebody say no to you, there's somebody going to say yes. You need to believe in your passion. Believe in and actually display a skill. And when you show that this is really what you want to do, the door will open. Just keep knocking. The door will open. And that's all you need. It's only one door. And your things begin to happen.
You know, there was something you said earlier, a couple of minutes ago, about the business plan, selling the business idea.
Yes.
But, you know, I see a challenge there too. Like you did say, I do not need to know how to write a business plan. I mean, there are examples and people whose business and special area of specialty that it is to write business plan for business ideas. But there's still how do I get that business plan?
On paper.
No, not on paper now. I already have it on paper. But how do I locate a prospective investor? I mean, the space between my business plan and the investor, there's a space. Yes. How do we bridge that space?
You see, for me, that has, in all my years of experience, that has been the easiest part.
Really?
Yes.
I would think it's the hardest.
No. It's the most difficult one is actually articulating your business plan.
Oh, okay.
Because everybody, quote me, everybody want to make more money. You see, all you need to do is, if you normally have 2 minutes to talk.
Yes.
And you have a plan, beautiful plan. And somebody say, for instance, hey, if I tell you today that I know what it takes to fly, that from here now I will just leave here and I'm in my village in a second. Everybody will want to, what's that? That's a skill.
How is that going
you understand?
to happen?
So how is that going to work? And if I can prove it, everybody want to invest in it. So it is important that I'm able to prove my point. And I can show that people, this is another thing they want to say. If businessman will say, okay, don't need to write anything. You've got the business plan, got this. Once all that is in place, this is my plan, and this is who wants what I'm doing, and this is how much I need to start it, and with this, I'm going to get this amount of money, then you are settled. When you present it to anybody, see, let's say we have family. In Nigeria, we go from a unique family system.
Yeah.
Understand? The state government is providing so many now. The federal government is there. And there are other private investors. Maybe, I know sometimes we say the banks are asking a lot of interest, but they are looking for businesses too.
To invest.
You understand? So at the point in time, you'll be able to tell a bank, hey, I'm not paying this amount of interest, but this one you are sure you're going to get this. If the bank can see the prospect in what you're doing, they will throw the money at you. So that is why I said it's the easiest part of it. The most difficult part of it is actually
conceptualizing
conceptualizing it and putting it down not necessarily on paper, but being able to present it, and present it the wise way. Don't say, I need money out of emotion. Business people don't work with emotion. They work with...
I have a couple of ideas. Yeah. I mean, even as we speak, it's been, maybe it was a fog before you and I started this conversation. It's becoming clearer. Before we go, you teach me how to do a business plan, and just maybe we'll take it up from there. But I have listened to you in the last couple of minutes, and you've been talking and speaking practically about the benefits of growing the informal sector and its capacity to generate massive employment for many here in Nigeria, especially young persons. Aside some of the issues that you have raised, I mean, you talked about what is being done in the UK. What else can be done to stimulate rapid growth of that informal sector? I mean, of course, you could talk about the ease of doing business, the production chain processes, market environments, and, I would even think maybe the issue of tax exemption for certain classes of small businesses should be, a priority.
Let me go to two industries here, all right? In the UK, for instance, because I'm a filmmaker, if I make a movie, they give me a tax incentive of 25% of my budget. They call it tax credit. So if you make a British film, you get 25% of your expenditure, British spend.
Yes.
At the end of it, you just prove it. It's not debatable that will be credited into your account. The reason being they know it's a high-risk area, and they're using it to encourage you to spend the money, and to help. But the good thing about it is the government are not stupid. They do that so that if you invest, if you bring your money and you spend it there, they give you some more of this money back so that you can do more. So it's called tax exemption, like you mentioned. That is a very good part of it. That is a way of encouraging small businesses. But, the one I'm really passionate about, the one I see more in my country, Nigeria, is the agricultural sector.
Oh, okay.
It is, I've been around, and I making a few phone calls, I found that some young people are now understanding the importance of agriculture. Some of them have a small farm in the front of their house. And I'm running a scheme at the moment, which I call the Agricultural Development Scheme. All I'm saying, all I need from you is a plot of land. I will cultivate the land with you, and we will share percentages. So all I'm saying to people is just give me your plot of land, and we will work on it.
I mean, there's something we now know as agri-entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Okay, so it's basically the agri-business, but now, focusing on certain areas in the value chain of specific crops and all of that. And I've read quite a bit about what they now call smart farming. Okay. And I see people, you don't have to even have a piece of land like you just mentioned. No. You could actually be in your house and you could have a farmhouse within the house in sacks, and you see people plant yam, and they harvest in sack, and they reap, they get really good harvest, and so the agri business is massive, and the area keeps expanding with the advent of technology. Would you like to talk a bit about these and inherent opportunities in the area?
In fact, if I go, I'm maybe going too far on it, because for me, it's a passionate area for me. Because it is unheard of that a country like us are suffering. Maybe we have an issue of food. Nigeria should be supplying food to the rest of the whole of the African continent.
Exactly.
Only the landscape of Niger State is enough. If we cultivate it, as a people, there will be massive employment for these young people. I don't know whether it is something the government and the private need to come together and do, but my direct infusion is, I'm saying to young people,
please,
what you need to do really is pick a plot of land and say, I'm going to invest 1 year. Rather than looking for that white-collar job, I'm going to spend 1 year, I'm going to cultivate this land. Funny enough, the federal government initiative gives you fertilizer sometimes for free. They give you everything you need for free. At
subsidized rates, actually. Even if you have to pay, they are highly subsidized.
So why can't you really get up from this put up this suit. Come on, put on your glove. Keep your hands dirty. Grow your farm. When you finish at the end of the year, you'll end up buying a car. That car you think it's misery, you buy it from your own hand. And I think when you work for something, like my father always say, that is when it stays with you forever.
Exactly. And
not the one that you just come and you just go. That's why I said before, if you can start with 10, you can start with billion. I know you didn't. You didn't agree with that. You didn't agree with that.
Let me just quickly add to what you've just said about making your own money. I mean, the level of satisfaction you get, the sense of fulfillment you get from making your own money is different from that which you get when someone just hands over the money to you and all of that.
And you can't even keep it, because when you grow wealth by yourself, it continues to grow.
Very true.
But when it is thrown on you, it does away. You understand?
You feel entitled.
There's no way. Because you see, if you make 200 billion now and you have no way of sustaining it, it will go. But if you grow you're from 1 to 2, 3, you're always going to grow in life.
Exactly.
And that is the key. And that is something young people need to learn. They have the whole world ahead of them, the whole life ahead of them. And it is very important that you guys succeed, young people, because you are our future. If you guys fail, we fail. So it is very important. When I talk about young people, it's always a passionate thing for me. Because if the young people fail, means a few years down the line when I'm old, they'll be the one doing everything for us. So it's important for you guys to succeed. And one of the ways to succeed is actually to create your own world. You understand? Creating wealth does not really depend on anybody. It's about a decision. You look around you, look at what is needed. And for instance, I just mentioned farming. I know you guys will know, like farming, why would this old man tell me to farm? But trust me, young man, if you take your time and put some little time in all the time you have to play, it's not all the time. You go to the farm, would you love to see something growing? You plant something and it's growing. Or even if it is a pig you have, something, you see it growing.
Yes.
With time, you make money out of it.
You know, earlier on you talked about, I picked up on something you said about tutoring.
Yes.
And I mean, so I'll just gradually steer our conversation to the issue of mentorship for entrepreneurs and just how important that is for especially nascent business owners. But tell me why that is so important and how mentorship, tutoring, like you said, could impact on an entrepreneur's development.
You see, that's what we Africans do best. In the past, I know with the new education system, we tend to neglect it. I'll go back to the Igbo apprentice system. You're sent to serve somebody for maybe 5 years. This is somebody that have wealth of experience, have made a lot of mistakes. And from every day you begin to learn the trade. He's mentoring you, he's helping you. And at the end of the day, you know what we do? We are Africans, we will set you up. You don't even, so I think that scheme is unique because that mentorship is there. Without mentorship, you see, I may think I know it all, but there's something my father knows that I need. So you need that mentorship from time to time, and you have somebody to cry on to. Oh, I made some mistake. Oh, don't worry, son. This is how it is. You know, that's very important. It's like you're in a marriage. You make mistake, you tell your parents to say, oh, it's normal. Forgive your wife.
And there's something also critical that I know that mentorship also provides. I mean, it helps with networking as well.
Definitely.
Great. And incidentally, I know you've referenced the Igbo mentorship scheme as being one of the most popular in Africa or West Africa. But incidentally, I think our northern brothers are also, are also at it, and they've picked up, and of course, perhaps even more. You know, let me just give you a quick story now. A couple of years ago, I had a neighbor just by the wall, perimeter wall of my estate. We call him Malam Yakubu. Malam Yakubu was there when I moved in. He had this small shark stall that he was using. And then 2 years down the line, Malam Yakubu had moved from that particular store to a small shop down by same street.
Okay.
And then he had his younger brother, someone we came to later know, as his younger brother, had taken over the store that was by the perimeter fence of my estate. And then I think it was the following year or 3 years later, Malam Yakubu, who I could no longer call Malam Yakubu, I had to start calling him Big Man Malam. Had moved into a shop. You know, 2 shops that he had combined. And then his younger brother, Salihu, who had moved to that, who was in that store that he started with, had moved to Malam Yakubu's bigger store.
Okay.
And now, I tell you, these days when I see Malam, big man Mala, that's what I call him now, big man Mala. Malam Yakubu. I want to swap with him.
Yes.
Let me take your business and you come do my work. I mean, that's how entrepreneurship grows, and that's how businesses grows. But finally, before I let you go, forgive me for my story, but I just wanted to pass a message so people understand. So, I mean, another issue that I consider quite germane and important to this whole, issue of entrepreneurship, and it's perhaps one of the most important features of entrepreneurship, is the issue of risk taking. And businesses are managed, like I had said earlier, by one person or a small group of persons who ultimately bear the risks. So how do we strike a balance, knowing that not taking any risks at all can stagnate a business, while excessive impulsive risk taking can also cause losses?
Yeah, Oscar Brown said it all. I may not make it if I try, but sure won't if I don't. You may not make it if you try, but you remain there if you don't. So risk-taking is a part of life. And I do publish in a magazine, and funny enough, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this to many of our people out there. We black people in the UK, for instance, I always inspire them to think business.
Okay.
You will not get into my magazine if you are a good lawyer. You only get into my magazine if you own a chamber. So I'm saying convert your skill into a firm. You see, you won't get into my magazine if you are a great accountant. Only when you have an account firm, that is when I'm going to get you in my magazine. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to say whatever skill you have, convert it into the entrepreneurship part of life so that you can create jobs. Look at what Malam did. Malam was able to convert from small to big, and he brings in somebody mentoring and into that. That is an example of that Malam. Yeah, again, so let's stick with the issue of risk. Risk is important. Everything we do in life is risk. Business is risk. But if you know what you're doing, the risk is limited. So that's why I always say to people, please make mistakes, because you're learning. And don't see it when you lose money at the end of the world. No, you're going to come back. I call it paying school money. You keep losing, but trust me, you will not lose again. I've been doing something the same years, and people say, oh, why are you doing it? I say, I can't stop because this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. This is going to be my retirement, and it is going to be, because I believe in it. And as I learn, as I make mistakes, I learn, I grow, and now I can be called an expert in it. So that's how it is.
I mean, it's been quite fascinating having this conversation with you. But unfortunately, this is where we'll draw the curtain on our discourse. It's been insightful, and hopefully we can revisit this subject matter from another perspective in the near future. Okay. Christian Ashaiku, entrepreneurship consultant and advocate, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on Insight.
Thank you very much.
And that's it on this episode of the program. Do join us same time next week on Insight. My name is Nnamdi Odipo. See you next week.
Minister of Information and Culture holds World Press Conference, reacts to report by the Lagos State panel on NSAS. And towards good governance and effective service delivery, President Buhari engages Senate President on critical bills. Plus, President Buhari confirms dates for APC National Convention. These and more on Panorama with me, Ifoma Ojinta. And we begin. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, on Tuesday dismissed the report submitted by the Lagos State NSAS panel on police brutality
describing the leaked report as fake and a horse. At a World Press briefing in reaction to the report, the minister said the report did not follow the evidence at hand. He said, and I quote, "It is an intimidation of the majority by a minority," end of quote. The minister also described the allegations as tales by moonlight, saying it was shocking that the same allegations made by Nigerians were merely compiled and submitted as a report by the panel set up to investigate the claims of police brutality.
There is absolutely nothing in the report that is circulating to make us change our stand that there was no massacre at the Lekki toll gate on October 20th, 2020. For us to change our stand, a well-investigated report of the incident that meets all required standards and will withstand every scrutiny must be produced and presented to the public. The report does not meet those requirements.
The 9-member panel in its leaked report alleged that at least 9 persons were killed at the Lekki Toll Plaza when soldiers and policemen stormed the scene to disperse protesters on October 20, 2020. President Muhammadu Buhari engaged Senate President Ahmed Lawan on some critical national issues as well as bills passed by the National Assembly towards good governance and effective service delivery. Amongst them is the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, now awaiting presidential assent. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the reports.
Your Excellency. This meeting between President Muhammadu Buhari and Senate President Ahmed Lawan is in furtherance of his strategic engagement with stakeholders towards addressing critical national issues. The Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which provides for direct primaries as mode of election for political parties, is now a subject of controversy in the polity. After the closed-door meeting, which he described as fruitful, the Senate President told journalists that disagreements on matters like this are normal in a democracy.
I don't think there will be any day that you will have a political issue that everybody will say the same thing about it, that agrees with you without any amendment. So when we have any section of our party disagreeing with something, we should be engaging. That's why we are politicians. I don't think it is right to say that governors have disagreed. Maybe some governors might have said they don't like it this way, but that's normal. So whatever we do in the National Assembly, especially this present National Assembly, this 9th National Assembly, we think deep, we think wide, we consult very broadly before we take any position. So I believe that whatever we send to the executive arm of government, Mr. President, for his assent, these are things that are well thought out, and I believe that the expectation of members of the National Assembly will be that this bill is signed. But this is then again not my own calling; it's for Mr. President to take his decision.
Discussions also centered on the national budget, now before the National Assembly, with the Senate President expressing optimism on passage by the middle of next month, saying work has reached appreciable level.
We are also very desirous of ensuring that the APC is so stable before the Congress, the convention ultimately, because we want our convention to be hitch-free. We want every member of this party who comes to attend the convention to do so with a clear mind that whoever becomes the chairman, for example, or whatever leadership emerges, is a leadership that has the respect of everyone in the party, because we want Mr. President to continue to work with a solid and strong party, APC, to continue to do the very good work it is doing across the country and consolidate at the end of its tenure. Before then, we are very hopeful that we are able to have projects, the legacy projects commissioned, like the second Niger Bridge, the Abuja, Kaduna, Kano Highway, the the Lagos-Ibadan.
On security, Senator Ahmed Lawan said the National Assembly will continue to give necessary support to the executive towards ensuring the desired peace enterprise is achieved across the country for sustainable growth and development.
I'm happy that what we have discussed are things that will make this country better.
From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The National Convention of the Governing All Progressives Congress is now to be held in February next year. President Muhammadu Buhari gave this approval after receiving a briefing on the resolution of the Progressives Governors Forum on the matter. The forum, which held a meeting last night, mandated its chairman, Governor of Kebbi State, as well as its Yobe and Jigawa State counterparts, to make its position known to the president.
Part of the input we got was that we still have 4 states which are in the process of completing their congresses. Anambra, understandably because of election, Zamfara, and 2 others. So, and then Christmas is around the corner. And then early January we'll be very busy with Ekiti. So the governors, based on all that, made an input that we think the party and the president might graciously consider February, and President is favorably disposed. The chair of the caretaker committee was part of the delegation. He heard that, and I'm sure they will conclude between him and the president. But we have made the input of the governors known, and it was favorably considered by Mr. President.
Well, they will expect more unity and progress. Like the PGF chairman said, they have suggested to the party and Mr. President has concurred, so we are going ahead to plan for the convention in February. We have to communicate to INEC, we have to also communicate to our various state chapters for them to be ready for the convention.
Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress Governors Forum says it will meet with the leader of the party, President Muhammadu Buhari, to discuss plans ahead of the party's national convention. Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara reports that these and other peace-building moves formed highlights of the forum's meeting in Abuja.
After the conduct of APC wards, local government and state congresses nationwide, governors under the party's platform have commenced the processes towards the National Convention. The APC Governors Forum chairman, Abubakar Atiku Bagudo, at the end of a meeting that lasted more than 3 hours behind closed doors, says, as a critical organ of the party, the governors are united in building a stronger APC through constructive engagement with relevant stakeholders.
Sometimes electoral processes are not without annoyance, but we are happy with the conduct of the caretaker committee. We discuss issues that are all issues that are pertinent to the progress of our party. And since we are meeting, we are making suggestions to both the party and our party leader.
The governors appealed to aggrieved party members to be patriotic and faithful to the party's internal peace-building efforts and imbibe the true spirit of sportsmanship so as to go into the National Convention united. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
And to other news now, African First Ladies have been tasked to drive processes and actions aimed at enhancing the desired peace enterprise on the continent for sustainable growth and development. President Muhammadu Buhari threw the challenge at the opening of the 9th General Assembly of the African First Ladies Peace Mission, convened by the First Lady of Nigeria, Mrs. Aisha Buhari. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the details.
The African First Ladies Peace Mission was established 24 years ago as an umbrella body of wives of African heads of state and government to play a supportive role in fostering peace as well as reducing conflicts and their effects on the continent. The importance of the assembly, President Buhari said, cannot be glozed over as peace has become an elusive subject that affects development in many regions of Africa. The activities of insurgency and banditry in particular, he said, have have led to widespread displacement and poverty.
It is not in doubt that women and children are the worst affected by the breakdown of peace. Therefore, as mothers, I believe you are in better position to drive the processes of peace and actions where necessary. Indeed, I am happy to know that your forum has been working towards promoting peaceful coexistence within the continent in so many ways. I would like to reiterate the commitment of our government to the resolutions of this assembly, and I invite other African leaders to do the same. I also call on stakeholders to support your efforts towards realizing the core objective of building a peaceful society.
The president congratulated the First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, for acquiring a piece of land for the development of the African First Lady's Peace Mission Secretariat in Abuja.
It gladdens my heart to know that when completed, the Secretariat will serve several purposes, including creating employment opportunities, as well as generating income for sustainability.
In their messages of goodwill, several participating First Ladies, as well as Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, pledged to support efforts at enhancing the noble aspirations of the peace mission.
As important stakeholders in our respective countries, it is important for us to take on a more direct means of engaging society to help minimize such violence and its disastrous effects on lives and property.
The war in Sierra Leone would not have been won without Nigeria, without the support of the Nigerian soldiers. I know how many people died, how many Nigerians died in Sierra Leone to give us the peace and stability we have today. I want to commend Her Excellency for convening this most important meeting.
We pray that during this African First Ladies Mission Summit, that you African First Ladies will develop a roadmap and effective strategy to help address some of the many challenges facing Africa, especially the security challenges.
The First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, had earlier enumerated, amongst others, preventing and managing conflicts, as well as engaging in humanitarian activities as clear vision of the African First Lady's peace mission.
The convening of the summit is timely and a testimony to leadership of the African First Ladies as worthy ambassadors of women and the African continent. I want to encourage the African women to take advantage of every given opportunity to advance the cause of peacemaking, peace building, and conflict resolution as our contribution to rebuilding Africa. Let our involvement in this African project be guided by the AU agenda.
A communique is expected at the end of the assembly. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Let's take a break now. Panorama continues shortly. Do stay.
The vaccine offers hope for a safe country free of coronavirus. I urge all state governments, traditional and religious leaders to take the lead in the mobilization effort within their environment and spheres of influence. I similarly urge all eligible Nigerians to present themselves and be vaccinated in accordance with the order of priority already mapped out at the various authorized designated centers only.
Thanks for staying tuned. Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Muhammadu Buhari has emerged the new president of the African First Ladies Peace Mission State House correspondent Aliyu Kabir reports that this was part of the resolutions of the just concluded Executive Bureau meeting at the 9th session of the General Assembly of the organization, which took place in Abuja.
The African First Ladies Peace Mission was established in 1997 by the spouses of the African heads of state and government with the aim of complementing the effort of their spouses towards promoting peace and security within the continent. The organization was, however, inactive for a while due to various challenges comprising the global pandemic of COVID-19. This is the 9th General Assembly of the organization convened by the Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Muhammadu Buhari. Crucial issues were discussed during the Executive Bureau meeting aimed at committing their time and all it takes to move the mission forward for the benefit of African women, youth and children. The First Ladies unanimously elected the Nigeria's First Lady to steer their affairs. In her acceptance speech, the new president of the organization and the First Lady of Nigeria expressed appreciation to her colleagues, the African First Ladies, for entrusting her with this huge responsibility. She urged them to continue working together towards achieving glorious destiny for all Africans.
With all sense of humility, I accept my election as the incoming 9th President of the African First Ladies Peace Mission. I want to sincerely thank all my colleagues for your continuous support and understanding, for entrusting me with this great responsibility. I pledge to execute my responsibility with total commitment and in accordance with the mission's laid down regulations. As you are aware, the task before us is a collective commitment. My dear colleagues, as we conclude this summit, let history guide us to ensure that the Africa we bequeath to our children today is better than the one we inherited. Let us commit ourselves to working together towards achieving glorious destiny for all Africans.
The new president of the organization and the Nigeria's First Lady led her counterpart from across the continent to the foundation-laying ceremony of the permanent site of the mission secretariat along Airport Road, Abuja. The secretariat, which occupies 2.7 hectares of land, is acquired by the current president of the organization, Aisha Buhari. When completed, it will serve as office accommodation for daily activities of the mission.
We are happy as First Ladies that we are going to have a secretariat in Nigeria, and I'm very happy that Aisha is the new president, and we believe that she will lead us. This is an organization that has been going on for a while, but we're new in it, so for us, I mean, it's like we're beginning something new under her dispensation, so we look forward to our working relationship.
And this is a very significant project. This is a dream come true. It has been in the pipeline for years, but today God has answered our prayers with the effort of Our Excellency Dr. Mrs. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari. Our dreams have been realized today.
The groundbreaking was attended by the founder and the first president of the organization, Mariam Abacha, as well as the former First Lady Patience Jonathan and many other African First Ladies. I am Aliyu Kabir, NTA News.
The federal government is assuring Russia of deeper investment relationship that will be mutually beneficial as the world looks beyond the pandemic. At a meeting with the coalition of 19 Russian companies led by Nigeria's ambassador to Russia and Nigerian investment community, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Niyi Adebayo, assured of adequate returns on investments. Leah Katung Babatunde reports.
It's been 2 years since the Russia-Africa Summit in Sochi, Russia. Ties forged were placed on hold when coronavirus showed up unexpectedly with its attendant consequences. Now, 19 Russian companies are in Nigeria to cement already established relationships as economies open, and a common factor here is the need for stronger political influence from both heads of government.
Our purpose of the presence in Nigeria now is to explore the demand of Nigerian market and to develop the strategy of the presence of all enterprises of our group.
The government of Nigeria will give every support to all the decisions that will be taken. You can rest assured that the government of Nigeria will be supportive of whatever decisions that are taken.
The investors have their eyes on the spread of areas of interest.
But beyond Ajakuta, there are other value addition industries within the steel sector that will enable us to take off.
We are undertaking the mission within the framework of our foreign policy to engage with countries of the world and especially Russia.
In the coming days, the visiting team will be meeting with industry players in Abuja and Lagos, as well as northern and southern governors forums. In Abuja, Leah Katung-Babatunde, NTA News.
The 5-day warning strike embarked on by the FCT teachers to press home demands for payment of arrears of promotion benefits for teachers and payments of annual increment arrears continues. Hadiza Godwin-Ebune has an update on the recent developments.
The 5 days warning strike embarked upon by the FCT teachers. The FCT minister, Malam Muhammad Musa Bello, Thursday met with the Nigerian Union of Teachers, Abuja chapter, and assured them that FCTA will look into the issues and contention and tackle them amicably before the year runs out.
The 2017 is scheduled for payment in the month of November, while the Honourable Minister directed that the teaching staff, payment for teaching staff, in 2018, promotion areas should be prioritized. We are looking at that seriously so that the issue of promotion areas for this category of workforce can be settled once and for all.
The FCT Nigerian Union of Teachers Chairman Stephen Nabai said, while the FCT administration has promised and began payment of teachers' promotion arrears, the 6 area councils in the territory saddled with the payment of primary school teachers a new minimum wage has refused to do same. For the 18 months that the FCT Council of Nigerian Union of Teachers had been agitating for the payment, he says the union is yet to see any commitment by the area councils. Hence, the strike continues.
The strike is still ongoing. We believe that between now and before the expiration, the area council chairman should be able to call us for a meeting. But at the expiration of this warning strike, if nothing takes place, we will have no option than to proceed to an indefinite strike.
However, all efforts to speak with Chairman Algon Mustafa Adamu Danze proved abortive as it could not be reached. Hadiza Godwin-Ebune, NTA News.
And next is sports updates.
The Nigerian American Football Association has kicked off secondary school qualifiers in various centers across Lagos State. The competition, organizers say, will feature 40 schools, which will produce 2 teams that will get promoted to play in the league. The initiative is a step towards developing a structure for the development of American football in the country.
It is an organized league we are planning, and it's an organized league we are going out with. We have exhibition qualifiers. We have also trained both the players, trained the officials.
On grassroots football, the maiden edition of Signals Barracks Mile 2 Commanders Football Tournament, tagged Unity and Peace Cup, kicked off at the Signals Barracks pitch, Lagos, with about 24 teams participating in a tournament aimed at taking the restive youth off the street and giving them a platform to thrive.
As with the growth for within the environment.
When they are here, they will be very focused and they will not have any opportunity to engage themselves in any negative acts.
In the UEFA Champions League, Tuesday fixture shows that Dynamo Kiev will take on Bayern Munich. Villarreal plays host to Manchester United with Michael Carrick in charge. Young Boys welcomes Atalanta. Barcelona faces Benfica. Chelsea meets Juventus. Lille squares up against Salzburg, while Sevilla hosts Wolfsburg, amongst other matches. In tennis, the 7th edition of the Oba Elegushi Tennis Tournament ended at the Lagos Lawn Tennis Club, with stakeholders calling for the inclusion of young tennis players in the next edition. The competition was focused on creating a platform where retired players, coaches, and other tennis enthusiasts who keep fit by engaging in healthy rivalry.
The young ones, and see how we can support them, the good ones among them, how we can sponsor them for a national or international tournament.
To wrestling, the Professional Wrestling Federation of Nigeria has organized its 40th anniversary National Wrestling Championship at the Teslim Balogun Stadium, Lagos.
The federation needs to need the provision of sports facilities and implementing various statutory of the federation.
The event, which was focused on celebrating the history of professional wrestling in Nigeria, saw USA Being of Congo Democratic Republic beating Nigeria's Major Ariba in one of the new titles launched at the event. With sports updates, Gift George.
And that's Panorama for today. We thank you for watching, and do remember to join the NTA in the fight against rape and rapists. Bye for now.